This great bronze urn was probably used for... The idea had always been to stop anyone becoming a king again.
You really think my wife and I want to sit there and listen to this? Listen to this stuff. Who brought these people in here? All right, today is a Sunday. There it is. 1 hour and 41 minutes of hiking. So that's pretty good. We're gonna check the steps and everything weekly, only weekly. Today is Sunday, May 21, 2023. Slowly but surely, as my grandfather always said, slowly but surely. All right, kitty. I know it's tough and you're on a diet, but you gained a little too much weight, so I'm putting you on a restriction, small little doses of dry food. Maybe some wet food eventually, but you're going on a disciplined diet. Now, you have the scratching post. You have the well shark tunnel. And you have the cat condo. Enjoy. About 600 yards back, maybe more, maybe half a mile back, a coyote had pulled a domestic dog out into the middle of the road. Both were killed. The coyote's body was around here, and the dog's body was over here. You get it? The coyote pulled the dog out into the highway, and both were struck, and are both dead. It's way back there. We're just now crossing Bryant Irving, and the dog is dead on the side of the road. It looks like a German Shepherd. And the coyote is dead in the middle of the road. We're on May 21st. It's gonna be about 3:14 in the PM. We're going a little backwards today. It's 177 1,000 miles, 478, so 177, 407, well, you say at 177,478 miles on the speedometer. It's about 76 degrees. It was a cool day today. I did sweat on my hike, because I did go on my hike today, but not as bad as usual. And the sweat top helps keep the sweat out of my eyes. I had a problem where there was so much sweat in my eyes, I had to get a hose to just wash all the sweat out of my eyes. Luckily, there was a neighbor there to help. He was a carpenter. He gave me a thing of water and sent me on my way. Well, he didn't send me on my way, but he gave me some water. He said, here's some water. Gave me a bottle of water without any questions. He knew I was overdone. You gotta be careful, because I'm wearing a top. It's like a sweat top. This summer, I'm gonna have to be very careful. I'm gonna travel, or I'm gonna hike in the summertime, always with water with me. But I'm gonna hike. When I go on hikes up to 5 miles or so, I'm gonna carry a camel pack, which is basically like what it is it's a water pack that's connected to a tube. Soldiers use it during the Afghan war, and it goes over here, and you can actually drink the water while you're on the move. So you keep the water on your back. It's sling. It's called a Camel Pack. I think they have a brand name called Camel Pack too, but it's for walking or mountain climbing. Well, I don't know if mountain climbing, they may not use it in mountain climbing, like vertical mountain climbing, but if you're hiking, it's very good to use to keep yourself hydrated. Okay. All right, I was reading on Google today that eating salad bars is very healthy for you, and it's a way of practicing health. I suggest Jason's Deli. It's got one of the best salad bars ever, and so we are going to have a salad bar. We've been doing this almost every day, and I will get a scale this June, and I will measure to see how much I weigh and everything, because I'm on a strict diet. I told the lady up front, she was so nice to me. I told her about how the Louisville police threw me out because of the egg yolk thing. I think it's REM that's playing. They're pretty nice at this one. Oh, looks like REM's not playing anymore. We got to deal with the copyright because California wants to be eaten under copyright. All right. There it is. And we'll analyze what we do. All right. So I have 3 children. I have David Luke Spivey, Elizabeth Grace Spivey, and Gwendolyn Hope Spivey. I have 3 children. And you'll watch us feast in heaven for all of time while you beg for a drop of water in hell. I do that take twice. This is the part you hate. A cracker with a little bit of your enemy's food. Jerusalem just installed, they just constructed a new Protestant church right there in Israel. We'll go to Israel and visit that Protestant church. You have a good day. Well, secretly, I do a lot of things that I don't really talk about to you guys. I look up a lot of police scanning stuff because I saw this movie called Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal. I've been on set with him. I was on set with him for a movie called Moonlight Mile. And I look up police scanners. 1020 means your location. So if you're like, oh, my 1020, then you know that the location is like, you know, Jason's Deli, table, something like that. Angel and I lived in apartment 1020 when we were at Steeplechase. I looked up numbers sometimes and associate them with a police scanner. You know what 1032 means? Let me tell you. There's 1,030 calories in the salad. So I looked that up as associated with police scanner. It's kind of how I am. So if there was 1,032 calories in the salad, which there is probably about that much if you do 1 plate a day. A 1032, you know what it means? A cop would know. Same with a maybe fire department or a journalist, a CNN person or something like that. You know what it means? It means a drowning. A 1032 means a drowning. Whoop, gotta go. I told you about Teddy Zonker when she racked me in the balls and then she leaned back. I was about 12 years old, maybe 11 or so. Maybe I may have been 9 years old. I don't remember the exact age, maybe 9 or 10. But she leaned back into the whirlpool, went underwater, and the whirlpool drain grabbed her hair and drowned her. Her sister, who's a lesbian, had to come in and pull her from the drain. I've always thought, how am I going to end Chin? There's Chin 1 and Chin 2. Chin 2 is just an extension of Chin 1. But how? How would I end it? I finally figured it out. Catch-22 leaves the main protagonist doesn't have a name. He's the English teacher. That's what he's called in the story. And Catch-22 lady is like his affair. He also falls in love with Saldra, who is a student of his in his English classroom. And how does Chin end? And I haven't written it yet, but I'm going to probably tonight. It's a little break I'm taking from Skinny Pete and Friends, a sequel to Better Call Saul. Now, Chin is not a sequel. Chin is a book. Chin is a book I wrote. C-H-I-N. That's a book I wrote. I also work on screenplays. But how is it going to end? How are we going to end Chin? And I figured it out. Catch-22 lady leaves the English teacher. She goes back to this drunk guy named D, who also does methamphetamine. He also smokes weed occasionally, and he deals in methamphetamine out in East Texas with a guy named Antoine. She goes off and finds a Bible. She opens a Bible and she finds a passage from Corinthians 5. No, I'm sorry. 1 Corinthians 5. So it's 1 Corinthians 5, and she reads about it and reads about the sexual immoral and the drunkards, and how other people that are saved, that are Christians, are not to associate themselves with the sexually immoral and the drunkards and the swindlers. She puts that down and she gets in the vehicle with D. Then it cuts, so it just stops from there. We just know that she gets in the vehicle with him. Then what happens is it basically goes to the bathroom, and she's in the bathtub. And she says the words out loud, "You want me to baptize myself? Then I will." She goes under the water. Then her legs begin to kick in the air. Because when she lays down in the water, she lays down towards where the drain is. You know where in a bathtub it has a drain that drains the water? She lays down and she dies the exact same way that Teddy Zonker died. Her hair gets caught in the drain. Then D shuts the door to the bathroom. So when the bathroom door shuts, that's how it ends. You hear the kicking in the water of the bathtub, and the door shuts. What do I have to say to the Navy and the military? This is the Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base of Fort Worth. And this stretches all of the branches: Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and the Merchant Marines. United States Marine Corps, the Coast Guard. What do I have to say to them? Is this. It's a quote from the movie Platoon by Oliver Stone. "Look at him, Sarge. He's smiling at you. Look at him, Sarge. That's how the gook smiles." And what happens to the man? "Look at him, Sarge. He's smiling at you. Look at him. That's how the gook smiles." And what happens to the man? The soldier takes his shotgun and bashes the special guy's head with the back or the butt end of a shotgun. That's my message to the military. Look at him. He's smiling at you. He's smiling at you, Sarge. Look at him. That's how the gook smiles. He started a pizza chain called Zalet Pizza. It's more successful than what you did. And what did the military do for you? So when you join this, you make a contract with Satan to fulfill the devil's dream. You sign the paperwork, you go to hell. That goes for all the armed forces. I'd like for you to read that back to me.
So you have a 6-inch chili cheese coney, a large popcorn chicken, the number 1 fries ocean water, large cherry limeade, and medium mozzarella. Is it correct on your screen?
It does look correct. So
perfect. Anything else?
The total amount is $26.14.
It is.
Thank you.
Cool. All
right, so this is the middle of the run. We'll be there at 4:46 in the p.m. The lady was kind of rude to me at Sonic, so I didn't remember to do this. But we'll drop off your Sonic, which is right here, at about 4:45 is the ETA. Thinking maybe this one. Not for nope, that one's 9:24, so it's gonna be the other one. I want to tell a little story about my mother-in-law. This is Victory Church over here. My mother-in-law was a heroin addict. Her name is Denise Ziegenheim. And she was the one that ended up with my 3 children along with Angel. Now, Denise went around screwing over guys like crazy. Okay? Just like Catch-22 lady. And she cast spells upon all these guys to make her look beautiful because she wanted to be beautiful. She'll never be Drew Barrymore. Okay? She'll never in a million years ever be Drew Barrymore, who's a beautiful princess. I won't say anything bad about you, Drew. Now, she'll never be beautiful. Now, let me explain something. They will cast a spell upon you. You're part of the Men Too movement, right? You want to block that spell. It takes time, it takes healing, because the person that's hurting you right now is not beautiful. Beautiful people do not hurt other people. Beautiful people do not get drunk on other people. Beautiful people do not buy a case of beer. There's not a beautiful person on this planet that buys a case of beer. They don't do it. Follow them around. A beautiful person does not buy a case of beer. That's what an ugly person does. Now let me explain something. Because Linda's trying to become sober. I want you to look at Denise Ziegenheim. Take a look at her. Find her on Facebook or look at her in person. She's got tattoos all over her. Look at her. I'm sorry that I have to say this, Denise, but she's a monster. She gets people kicked out of their apartments. She calls the police, 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 and she calls the police. She's Judas Iscariot in female form. She has a mouth on her that's an endless pit. Her mouth is an endless pit. She is not a good person. The judge is not going to give the children to a good person because the judge is not a good person. The judge is an evil person. All judges are usually. So she's not going to get justice in this life. But what she did to herself, she did it with McDonald's, sausage biscuits with jelly, and other places that she visited. And what she did to her represents the sin that she carried throughout life by betraying other men. If you're a whore, which there are many are out there, you're going to look like a whore one day when you're older. And what does a whore look like? Look at Denise Ziegenheim. I know it's ugly to say, but she looks like a monster. And because of your whoring, my grandfather would talk about this, but because of your whoring, lady, you're going to be extremely ugly when you're starting to reach about 60 years old. Your 50s are going to be very, very difficult. You're a little bit young now, but you got a big mountain to climb of whoring. And eventually that's going to catch up with you. And you're going to look in the mirror at about 57, maybe 58 years old, approaching 60, and you're not going to like what you see. Boy, you were beautiful in high school. You were a beautiful person in high school. Absolutely beautiful. You were a beautiful person in high school. You're not as pretty now. And in about 18 years from now, you're going to look in the mirror and you're going to see disgust. You're also going to ask someone, do I smell like medicine and herbs? Because you're going to smell like disgust. And no man on this planet is going to desire you. Actually, to be honest, when you're that age at 58, going right into 60, because you'll probably not make it to 60, but you might make it to 60 if you turn your life over to God. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, lady, if you turn your life over to God or not. At 60, you're not going to be desirable. And no man on this planet is going to want you. All right, we're here at Long John Silver's. Drugs are bad, kids. Drugs are very, very bad. What I was going to do with Foster Harrington was I was going to join the Drug Enforcement Agency, but Foster was killed in battle. He was killed in the Sunni Triangle, his second tour, so I decided not to go in the Drug Enforcement Agency, but I can still help the police. Anybody can help the police. All a police officer is a citizen on patrol. That's all it means. A cop is a citizen on patrol. You can always tell the police. You can pick up the phone and call the police department. The DEA is very tough to get a hold of, but you can always make a social media post. They sometimes that works. Now, we'll be there at 7.8 miles, 10 minutes, and we'll be there at 5:29 p.m. estimated time of arrival. There's a lot of people out there that are doing drugs, and they're buying and selling. If you're buying, then you're selling, in my book, because you're supporting the cartel by buying the drugs. And if anybody is doing that, then they're going to be busted because we're getting rid of the cartel. The New Liberty Party is going to remove the cartel from the state of Texas completely. And we're going to start with families that are involved in drugs. We're going to remove the families that are involved with drugs. So families that are involved with illegal drugs like methamphetamine and marijuana that's illegal, then we're going to remove them from the state. We have our ways to do that. We can give them a warning and say, you better leave. You better pack up and leave. Get the U-Haul together. And that includes your children too. If I see a pipe, I report it. Does that make sense? If I see a marijuana pipe, I report it because that marijuana pipe can be used for methamphetamine. I'm in the process of doing that right now. We'll check this Long John Silver's, maybe a longer run. This is only a little over 5 miles, but this is basically Lake Worth right here. So how do we stop this drug problem in our country? We start with our neighbors. That's how anything gets done in this country. You start with your neighbors can help you. You can tell your neighbors, if your neighbor's smoking weed, report them, at least report them. If the police won't do anything, because the police are corrupt, if they won't do anything, then report it on Facebook. Make it socially known. Make it known on social media. We don't smoke marijuana in Texas. Not anymore. Because of the New Liberty Party and the Men Too movement. We are drug-free. So no marijuana in Texas. Also, we do not smoke meth in Texas. A lot of marijuana is laced with meth. So we don't smoke meth because meth kills you and it's bad for you. It's especially bad for kids. So I've reported the drug dealer that I know about at Hunter Hill's apartment, in apartment 1722. His name is Dustin English, and he's going to hell. All right, this sonic drop. I'm sorry, I'm going back. All right, Long John Silver's drop is coming right by this white settlement water tower on the crossroads of progress. There's nothing better in this life than progress, like Pilgrim's Progress. We'll go by that sign in just a minute. It's basically on a water tower. And we are headed to 8412. So I got a little German tank that I'm driving. That's what it sounds like. One of those German tanks, or Sherman. Sherman tanks didn't squeak as much as the Germans, because the Germans run out of oil towards the end of the war. It sounds like one of those Panzer tanks. Those guys squealed big time. All right, we made it here at Campisi's. Now, we're going to look at the book about Campisi's during the time of John F. Kennedy in the 60s. It's supposedly run by the Mafia. And they state that John F. Kennedy was a Mafia hit in the book. We're going to look at the book right here in the hallway. It's also called the Egyptian Restaurant, Campisi's. And I'm going to show you the sign that shows the Egyptian Restaurant. Nice little couple sitting over here. And then we'll look at the books that are in the hallway. They're having nice pizza. Here's the sign that says Egyptian Restaurant right here. And then we'll go into Campisi's. So they were like run by the Mafia back in the 60s. This is where the Barbarian told me about the high reps. So I'm gonna tell him thanks. I'll tell him my reps. And he's like the size of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And there it is. Contract on America. The Mafia Murder of President John F. Kennedy by David E. I don't even know how to say that. I guess it's Shine. And it talks about Joseph Campisi is identified in Drug Enforcement Administration files as member of organized crime and is linked to the organized crime in several other sources. He is by all indications a top-ranking Dallas Mafia member, illustrating his standing in the Mafia hierarchy is close friendship to Joseph Civello, the former Mafia boss of Dallas who represented the city at the 1957 Mafia convention in, I guess it's Appalachian, New York. According to one FBI informant, Campisi was slated to take over Civello's position, complimenting Campisi's association with Civello and other Dallas crime figures are his reported close contracts with state judge and Dallas law enforcement officials. He has also run the Egyptian Lounge, a Dallas restaurant and bar, since the 1950s. His brother Sam was a partner until Sam's death in the 1970s. The establishment was so notorious as a Dallas underworld hangout, according to one Dallas intelligence officer, that you could not go in without getting your picture taken by the FBI. Now check this out. This is all like in darkness too. They have one little light right here. I'll show you how dark it is right here, but this is Mafia Kingfish, Carlos, Marcello, and the assassination of John F. Kennedy. This one's by John H. Davis. So they're stating that John F. Kennedy was killed by the Mafia. This is Joe and Sam Campisi owned the Egyptian Lounge restaurant, a notorious hangout of the Dallas underworld. FBI report reveals that Civello was frequently observed furtively in entering and leaving the Egyptian Lounge through a back entrance. It is believed that in the early 60s, Joe Campisi was the number 2 mobster in the city and was considered Joe Civello's most likely successor as boss of the Marcello operation in Dallas. Although it was never brought out at the time of the Kennedy assassination, Joe Campisi had a very close relationship with the Marcello family during the 50s and 60s. Telephone records obtained by the FBI show that there were frequent calls between Marcello's enterprise in New Orleans and Campisi's Egyptian Lounge in Dallas. In 1978, Joe Campisi admitted he knew Carlos Marcello and 4 of his brothers and had visited them in Louisiana several times. Campisi told the investigators he used to play golf with Vincent and Anthony Marcello and would often go to the racetrack with 2 or 3 of the brothers, although Campisi claimed he had no business dealings with Carlos Marcello. He admitted to congressional investigators that he sent 260 pounds of Italian sausage to Carlos Marcello every Christmas, sausage he claimed with pride he made special with walnuts and celery. 2 books. What's interesting is this book has an introduction by John H. Davis. That's John H. Davis. And this one is actually written by David E. I guess it's Sheim or Shime, probably. S-C-H-E-I-M. Pretty interesting.